So in yesterday's class, we discussed about what mean by the nonlinear optimization, how gradient descent algorithm will work to find the global optimum point for a objective function which is a convex type. We discussed with respect to a simple numerical calculations as well. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the implementation of gradient descent algorithm to find the global optimum point for a objective function which is a convex type. So Python implementation we are going to discuss. And this nonlinear optimization problem is a single variable. First, we are going to discuss about the single variable that what we discussed yesterday as well. Yesterday we discussed about a nonlinear optimization problem with single variable. So same thing we will implement in the Python. After discussing about the Python implementation, we are going to discuss about the multivariable nonlinear optimization problem and how gradient descent algorithm will work to find the global optimum point for a multivariable nonlinear optimization problem. So we discussed. So when we are discussing about the multivariable nonlinear optimization problem, again we will start with the simple numerical calculation, and later we are going to discuss about the Python implementation. So I will share my screen to discuss about the Python implementation for the single variable nonlinear optimization problem. Hope you are able to see my Google Colab screen. So first of all, I will define my nonlinear optimization problem. That is minimize f of x equal to x square plus 5. It's a simple problem I have considered to explain the Python code. So it is a nonlinear optimization problem because my objective function is a nonlinear function of the control variable x. Nonlinear function of control variable x. So here my objective function is a f of x, where x is the control variable. Where x is the control variable. Hope you understand. Here f of x is objective function. The f of x is objective function. Object. And x is a control variable. Control variable. So this is called as single variable nonlinear optimization problem. Why single variable? Because we have only one control variable, that is x, but that's why it is a single variable. So why is the nonlinear optimization problem? Because my objective function is a nonlinear function of my control variable x. And this is the optimization problem because I am trying to minimize the objective function. So optimization is nothing but the minimization of or maximization of a particular objective function. So it is the optimization problem. Why it is a nonlinear optimization problem? Because my object function is a nonlinear in terms of its control variable. That's why it's a nonlinear optimization problem. Why it is a single variable nonlinear optimization problem? Because my object function contains a single variable. My object function contains a single variable. So this is about the problem statement. So I want to minimize f of x equal to x square plus 5, where f of x is an objective function and where x is a control variable. So I want to solve this optimization problem using the gradient descent algorithm. So for this purpose, I need your support. So I need your interactive participation. So I'm going to discuss about the step 1. What will be the step 1? Anyone can tell? What will be the step 1 in a gradient descent algorithm? What is the first step in a gradient descent algorithm? That means initialization of a control variable randomly, right? So initialization of control variable randomly, right? What else? What else? What will be the first step? What else we have to initialize? Only control variable sufficient, or we need to initialize any other parameters as well? Only control variable we need to initialize, or any other parameters we need to initialize as part of this gradient descent algorithm to solve this optimization problem? Students, please be respond. Please open up whether it's a right or wrong, not an issue. Please try to open up. So if you participate actively, you can understand very well. So we discussed everything with numerical calculations also we did yesterday. Now I'm trying to write the Python code. So for that I need input from you. So I will initialize my control variable randomly, definitely. Anything else I need to initialize, only control variable is sufficient.
We need to choose a learning rate.
Perfect. So initialize learning rate. We call it as the eta. Initialize learning rate eta. And here control variable is x. We need, and what else? Anything else we need to initialize? Anything else we need to initialize? Think, just try to recollect what we discussed. What?
Variable.
Epochs.
Iteration.
Maximum of iteration. Yes. So initialize maximum number of iterations or epochs, whatever it may be. You can take iterations, epochs, maximum of iterations are epochs. So that is called iter. What it means, there's a variable called iter max. So we need to initialize all these three variables. One is the control variable x, another is the learning rate eta, and another is the maximum number of iterations. Out of these three, the control variable we need to initialize randomly. Control variable we need to initialize randomly. So this is the first step I have to mention here. So now I have to write the code. Step 1 code. So the random initialization, I require the I need NumPy library. So I'm going to import NumPy library as NP. This is the NP is called as the alias name. Instead of using NUMPY, I can use NP from now onwards, like a alias name. Now, what I have to initialize? I need to initialize the control variable x randomly. So for the random initialization of control variable x, so x equal to the initialization x equal to np dot random initialization random random from the uniform distribution. So you have to define the range. In which range you want to define your initialize your value of x. You can take any value of x. I'm choosing -100 to +100 because your variable may be positive, may be negative. That is depending upon your problem statement. If you in the problem statement your variable is a positive, then no need to take the -100. You can take from 0 to 1000 like that. If it's only positive. If it's only negative, no need to take the +100. You can take from the -1000 to 0. If maybe positive, maybe negative, then you can take it from random initialization, random search space. You can take a random search space from what is called minus some 100,000 to the +100,000 like that. The random initialization. Hope you understand how we are doing the random initialization. So later you have to define the learning rate eta value, and its value between the 0 to 1. I'm taking the 0.9 as of now. I'm going to describe about the impact of the learning rate in the next later. After completing this coding, we will talk about the impact of the learning rate. So eta, that is called as the learning rate. I'm taking the 0.9, and iter max. So I'm taking the number of iterations equal to so it is on 200 iterations. So I have initialized my x value and initialize the eta value and initialize the number of iterations. Hope it's everything fine, right? Hope everything fine. Done. And you have to, yeah, it's okay. Done. This cell is completed. So what next I have to do? So I have to start the iterative loop, right? I have to start the iterative loop. You can try to remember. So you have to start the iterative loop. So that iterative loop will be running over the maximum number of epochs it reached. So for that purpose, I am initializing a variable called iter started with 1. That is 1. It is the first iteration. It is the first iteration. Now I want to start the iterative loop. While I'm using the while loop, you can use the for loop as well. You can use for loop as well. I'm using the while loop. While iter less than or equal to maximum number of iterations. That means this loop will be executed, terminate with a column. Every loop statement should be terminate with a colon, not a column, it's a colon. So that means this loop will be executed until your iteration reaches the itermax value. Until your iteration reaches the itermax value, this loop will be executed. So now start within the loop. What I have to do first? What I have to do? That means I am starting from now. I start with the step 2. Initialization completed. Now start with the step 2. Step 2 means you are starting the iterative loop. You have to start the iterative loop. So what will be the first statement within the iterative loop? Friends, what is the first statement within the iterative loop? What I have to do? What I have to calculate? What I have to do? What I have to calculate? Slope. Perfect. We have to calculate the slope. So slope that's equal to, how we can calculate the slope? Dou f by dou x at x, right? So what is the dou f by dou x? F of x equal to x square plus 5, right? What is the dou f by dou x? F of x equal to x square plus 5. What is the dou f? It's a 2x. So slope equal to 2 multiplied by x, and x is coming from here. This x value will be substituted here. So that will give the slope. Perfect. What next? What next? You calculated the slope. What next? Slope is nothing but the dou f by dou x. That is the 2x. So 2x at the current x value. Current x value is this one. This will be coming here. After completing the slope, what I have to calculate?
Delta x. Step length.
Delta x. Step length. Good. I have to calculate the step length. I have to calculate the step length. How we calculate the step length? Formula, please.
Minus eta dou f by dou x.
Minus eta multiplied by
Slope.
Perfect. Dou f by dou x. That is called slope. Perfect. What next?
Updating x value.
Perfect. Update x value. X equal to x plus step length. X equal to x plus step length. Good. What next? Any idea?
Iter equals to iter plus 1.
Perfect. You have to update iteration. Iter equal to iter plus 1. That's it. Now what happened? So first we are in the first iteration. So iteration 1 is less than or equal to maximum iteration 200. It's satisfied. So it's entered into here. Now calculate the slope equal to 2 into x. X is coming from here. Slope we are getting. Now calculate the step length. That is the minus eta. That is the 0.9 into slope that what calculated here come here. Now we are calculating the step length. Later we will update the x value. X equal to x plus step length. After that update the iteration value. Iter equal to iter plus 1. That is now iter equal to 2. Now come to the here. 2 is less than 200. Agree. So again all these 4 steps will be included. Again iter equal to 3. So these steps will be executed until you reach the maximum number of epochs or maximum number of iterations that's equal to 200. Hope you understand, right? So one, let us do, we are coming out of the loop. Out of the loop means don't write the statement here. So you have to give the statement from here, starting from here. If you are coming from the out of the loop, what I have to do? So I am coming out of the loop, what I have to do? What I have to do if I am coming from out of the loop?
Check the condition whether.
Yeah, it's okay. That means because I don't know where is the, yeah, you can include that convergence criteria. That means calculate the difference between the next value, current value and previous value. That's okay. So you can include later. Let us do my gradient descent algorithm. My convergence criteria is maximum number of epochs. My convergence criteria is the maximum number of epochs. That's what I defined. Because in most of the cases in the machine learning, we are keeping the maximum number of epochs as a convergence criteria. Maximum number of epochs as a convergence criteria. because we have the high computation machines are available as of now. So we are no need of bother about the computation type as of now. So that's why my convergence criteria is the maximum of epochs. If it reaches the maximum of epochs, it is coming out of the loop. It is coming out of the algorithm, out of the iterative algorithm. If it is coming out of the iterative algorithm, what I have to do? That is called last step in our.
Sir, I told
Please.
condition, sir. If iter is greater than iter max, then we
Then it is
need
coming
to.
out of the loop. See, you are with the while statement, right? No need to write the condition separately. Here, we no need to write the condition separately if iter is greater than iter max like that, because this loop by default it is executing. If iter is greater than the iter max, then it's coming out of the loop. All these statements will not execute again. It's coming out of the loop. Otherwise, it is coming
Printing
back.
X.
Exactly. Exactly. So print control variable is equal to variable that's equal to what else? X, that's the final solution, and also print the function value. Print objective function. That's equal to what is the objective function value? What is the objective function value? What is the objective function value? I can write here separately as well. So object function value. So obj that's equal to x square, that means x into x plus 5. So that's the objective function value in calculate. So I'm printing the both control variable and also objective function. Now you can run this algorithm. Done. Students, what is the solution for us? We know we are taking a very small example, right? X square plus 5. I want to minimize the function. So at what value of x we are getting the minimum value of function? At what value of x we will get the minimum value for this objective function? Hope you understand my question. So this is my objective function. I am trying to minimize this objective function. So trying to minimize the objective function means trying to find the value of x at which my objective function f of x is minimum. I'm trying to find the value of x at which my objective function f of x is minimum. So it's a very simple nonlinear optimization problem where we can, by seeing the function, we can tell at what value of x my function will be minimum. Anyone can tell at what value of x your function will be minimum?
0, sir. 0, sir.
Right? Yes. So you can see the solution here. 2.69 into 10 power minus 18. That means it's almost 0. It is almost 0. So otherwise you can keep it as a round. R-O-U-N-D. R-O-U-N-D. Round of x. It's a 0. So that means your function f of x equal to x square plus 5 will be minimum when x equal to 0. So what's the minimum value of f of x? What is the minimum value of f of x?
5.
5. That's it. When x equal to 0, you will get the minimum value. So when x equal to 0, 0 square, there is a 0 plus 5. So that is the minimum value. That's it. So that is how we can solve the non-linear optimization problem using the gradient descent algorithm. This is the implementation. So I hope you understand that the simple code. So the number of lines we are using in a Python or any other programming language, the logic that we are using for any programming language, that is different for the different candidates. That is depending upon their logical thinking capability. I have write this code like this. I am using the while loop. You may use the for loop. For iter in the range of iter max like that, you can use the for loop as well. If you are using the for loop, there is no need of using this increment. If you are using the while loop, I have to use the increment. Otherwise, if you use the for loop, your loop will be automatically incremented. Your variable will be automatically incremented. Iteration will be automatically incremented. So that's why whether it is a Python or MATLAB, the code part may be different for the different candidates. That is depending upon how the the student, the candidate is thinking while writing the code. So this is my logical thinking to write the code. So you may get some other expressions. You may get some other loop you can use. Okay. So I hope you understand how we can implement gradient descent algorithm for a single variable non-linear optimization problem using the Python. The simple Python. Okay. So hope you understand this Python implementation. So yesterday I shared one assignment for a gradient descent algorithm single variable non-linear optimization problem. So try to solve that problem and upload in your repository before August 14th. So okay, done. Hope you understand the Python implementation. Now I am going to discuss about the what is the impact of the learning rate. What is the impact of the learning rate on the performance of the gradient descent algorithm while finding the global optimum solution? While finding the global optimum solution using the gradient descent algorithm, what will be the impact of the learning rate that we are going to discuss now? And later, we are going to discuss about the multivariable nonlinear optimization problem. So maybe it looks very simple, but it is very essential for your machine learning model training. How these are essential, how these are helpful you while training your machine learning models, we are going to discuss after 1 or 2 classes. Okay, so first of all, try to understand gradient descent algorithm with respect to the very small problems. Okay, done. Now go to the whiteboard screen. Done. Now I'm going to explain what will be the impact of. So you can also give the answer. What will be the impact of the learning rate on the solution using the gradient descent algorithm? Okay, done. So generally, the gradient descent algorithm is well suitable to minimize an objective nonlinear objective function if that objective function is a convex in shape. If the objective function is in a convex in shape. And we know that, so this is the global minimum point. So I have to reach this point. So this is my goal is I have to reach this point. That's the global minimum point. Then, so let's assume initially my control variable x, I have initialized that initial value equal to x naught somewhere here. So this is the x naught. So for this x naught, so this is my initial point on the convex function. That is my initial point on the convex function. Okay. Now I am going to update this x value continuously as iterations are progress. How I am going to update that x value? That's equal to x equal to x plus delta x, that's called step length. That is equal to x minus eta into dou f by dou x. So this eta into dou f by dou x, eta is called as the learning rate. And this complete portion is called as the step length delta x. The complete portion is called as the step length delta x. Okay. Now, actually, this learning rate will be lying between the 0 to 1. If the learning rate is very small, that means like a 0.001 or 0.1 or 0.01 or 0.2, like that. If the learning rate is very small, then what about the step length, student? What about the step length? The learning rate is very small. What about the step length?
Step length is also small.
Very good. Step length also very small. So when the step length is small, then your x will be updated very slowly from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. Like this, it will be updating slow. As the step length is small, so your x value will be updated very slowly, and finally it reaches to this global optimum point. Okay, global optimum point. Very good. So if you are choosing the learning rate very small, then what is your observation? If I'm choosing the learning rate very small, so what is your observation?
Number of iterations increases.
Amma, 1 minute please. Can you please repeat again?
Number of iterations increases, sir.
Perfect. So number of iterations to reach your global optimum point will be more. number of iterations to reach your global optimum point will be more. That means it requires the more computation step, because number of iterations more means number of iterations required to reach your global optimum point should be more. That means you required more computation time. You required more computation time. You require more computation time. It will take the more number of iterations. Okay, so that is the impact of the learning rate if it is very lower value. If it is very lower value. Hope you understand, right? Good. Now we are going to the second case. If the learning rate is very large, if the learning rate is very large, like 0.9, 0.95, 0.99 or 0.8 like that, then what is the case here? Then what is the case here? We are going to discuss now. Let us assume my initial point is somewhere x1 here. My initial point is somewhere x1 here, and it will be landed at this point on the objective function. Landed at this point on the objective function. If the learning rate is very large, like this, then what happened? What about the step length, students? If the learning rate is large, what about the step length?
Step length increases and it overshoots the minimum point.
Perfect, perfect. So when your learning rate is very large, then your step length will be very high. If you are jump from here to here, you jump from here to here, you jump from here to here, and you jump from here to here. Because there is no guarantee that you will correctly jump on this lower point. There is no guarantee you correctly jump on this lower point and you stop here on the zero slope. No guarantee. Then what happened? It will jump from here to here and again jump from here to here. Then what happened? You are overlooking the global optimum point. You are overlooking the global optimum point. You are missing this point. Then what happened? No, I am in the positive slope. Now it is trying to come to the negative slope. No, I am in the negative slope. It is coming to the positive slope. So it will be oscillated around its global optimum point. It is oscillated around its global optimum point. Hope you understood what I want to convey. What I want to convey with you. If there is a learning rate is very high, if the learning rate is very high, then what happened? Your step length will be very large. When the step length is very large, there is jump will be very high. When the jump is very high like this, then there is a possibility to skip this optimum point. There is a possibility to skip this global optimum point. There is a possibility, right? So then what happened? It may be oscillates around its final solution, and finally after some time it reaches this optimum point. That means I will draw somewhere. I will redraw this one, this object function. So it's a convex function like this. So my function initial point here, because of the large step length, it will jump here, and it will jump here, and it will jump here, and from here to here it jump here. Now it is overlooking this global optimum point, skipping the global optimum point. Now it's saying that yes, I am in the positive slope. Now I have to move toward the negative slope. I am in the negative slope. Again, I have to move to the positive slope. Negative slope, positive slope. That means it will be oscillating around its optimal point, and finally it reaches to the global solution. Maybe I'm not sure. If the how much jump in the positive side, same thing will be coming in the negative side, then it will be oscillating around its global optimum point. That means it is oscillating around its global optimum point if your step length is very large. So what is my observation for the large step length? For the large step length, what is my observation is, if there is a step length is large, then your solution will be oscillate. Your solution will be oscillate around final global optimum point. So first of all, it will skip the global optimum solution, and later it will oscillate around its global optimum solution. Maybe after so many iterations, maybe it will reach the point. There is no guarantee. There is no guarantee to reach the global optimum point. So it will be oscillate around the global optimum point. It will oscillate around the global optimum point. Oscillate around the global optimum point. There is no guarantee to reach this point. So that is the impact of the high learning rate. So if you choose the low learning rate, so make this is definitely it will definitely reaches the final solution. But it requires the more number of iterations. Let us assume I am choosing the iter max equal to 100. Let us assume I'm choosing the iter max equal to 100. So 1, 2, 3. After 100 iterations, maybe it will stop here. because the step length, it will give the update will be very slow. So after 100 iterations, it may stop here. That means it is showing as the final solution, but not a final solution. Your solution will be here. So if you want to reach this solution, what you have to do? You require the more number of epochs. You require the more number of epochs to reach this final solution. I hope you understand what I want to tell you. What I want to tell you is, let's assume I am starting from this point, but my final solution is here. Okay, because of the lower step length, because of the lower learning rate, the step length is lower. So that's why it will take the more number of epochs to reach this point. More number of epochs to reach a point. Suppose if you are choosing the 100 epochs, maybe 1, 2, 3, so on. At 100th iteration, you will be here at this point. You are not reaching this global point. And you are showing that, so this is my optimal solution. It's not a right optimal solution. It is a right optimal solution. But you have fixed your maximum number of iterations equal to 100. You stopped here only. You are not reaching this point. When you stopped here, your algorithm showing that yes, this is my optimal solution X, and this is the optimal value of f of X, like it's showing. But it's wrong, because your objective final global optimum point will be located here. Final global optimum point is located here, but you are stopped here because you are limited maximum of iteration to 100 only. Then what you have to do? You have to increase the maximum number of iterations. Then definitely you will reach this point. You will reach this point. Hope you understand my what I want to tell you. I hope you understand. So if it is a learning rate is very small, so it will take the step length will be very small, so that it will take the more number of iterations to reach the global optimum point. By starting of your iterative algorithm, if you choose very number of iterations and if you choose very lower learning rate, then you never reach your global optimum point. Because why? You are choosing the very small learning rate. So definitely it will take the more number of iterations to reach your global optimum point. But you set itermax equal to very small value, then definitely your algorithm will be coming out of the loop once it reaches the maximum number of epochs at itermax equal to 100. You will not reach the global optimum point. In such scenario, what you have to do? If you choose learning rate is very small and you have to set your number of iterations at the maximum, large value, then only you may reach the global optimum point. You may reach the global optimum point. I hope you understand my convention, what I want to tell. Okay. Second case, if your learning rate is very small, very large, the learning rate is very large, like 0.9, 0. Like that, then your step length is large. Definitely it will coming towards your global point very fastly. Definitely it will coming towards your global point very fastly. But because of the large step length, you may overlook this optimum point. You may jump. You may overlook that optimum point, and you are coming back and coming front, and there may be oscillations around this global point, Okay, that means, so that is the impact of the learning rate on the solution while using the gradient descent algorithm. If your learning rate is small, your step length is small, so it will take the more number of epochs to reach the global optimum point. In such scenario, you need a more computation time. Moreover, while defining the variables, while initializing the variables for your gradient descent algorithm, you have to keep maximum number of epochs as a itermax. Not small like 10, 20. Don't use 10, 20 like maximum number of iterations. You have to use the large number of iterations as the maximum number of iterations, like 1,000, 10,000, like that. Then definitely you may reach this point. Otherwise, you may stop somewhere between you stop. You are not reaching this point. Hope you understand what I want to tell you. Second thing is, if the learning rate is very large, then your step length will be large. When the step length is large, then definitely you are moving toward the global point very fastly. But there is no guarantee you will be jump exactly on the global optimum point. You may overlook this global optimum point. You may fall on the other slope side. Then you're coming back and coming back, and there they are called as the oscillations around its global optimum point. So that is the one of the demerit if you choose the large learning rate. Okay, so choosing the lower learning rate also problem, choosing the larger learning rate also problem. So you have to tune it. You have to tune it. That is also one of the hyperparameter while training the machine learning models. Your learning rate is one of the hyperparameter. The learning rate is called as one of the hyperparameter in machine learning. So you need to tune. If your machine learning model performance is not good during the training process, you have to tune that learning rate between the 0 to 1. If you choose a very small value, that's also a problem. If you choose a very large value, that's also a problem. You have to tune it. So some researchers suggesting one solution. Some researchers suggesting one solution. So as a student of this class, anyone can give some suggestion to avoid this problem. What the problem here is, if I choose the lower learning rate, it will take the more number of iterations. Okay, if I choose the larger learning rate, then there is a problem of oscillations. Then what I have to do? Any idea, student? Any solution you can suggest? It interactive. If it is wrong, no issue. Even though if I was like you, maybe I can't get the solution. So if you get the solution, that is very happy. So what may be the approach? What may be the solution to avoid these two problems? If I choose the lower learning rate, it will take the more number of iterations. But if I choose the larger learning rate, it's again also a problem. So any other solution you can tell with respect to your learning rate. So the solution here is scheduling the learning rate. Scheduling the learning rate. So don't keep the learning rate constant. So you can schedule the learning rate. So schedule the learning rate means, let's assume, so this is my objective function. This is my initial point. So keep the learning rate maximum. Keep the learning rate high value during the starting of your iterative algorithm. Yeah, the iterations are progress. As you are moving towards your global optimum point, then you have to reduce your learning rate. You have to reduce your learning rate. That is what I want to tell you. So initially, I'm keeping the larger learning rate. I'm keeping the larger learning initially. But as iterations progress, I have to reduce my learning rate. I have to reduce my learning rate. Reduce my learning like that. So this is one of the solutions. So because as I keep the larger learning rate at the starting, so initially it will be larger step length. So it will coming towards your optimum point fastly. Once you are reaching toward the global optimum point, then reduce your learning rate. Then your step length will be decreases, and there is no possibility of overlook this optimum point. There is no possibility of overlook this optimum point, because when it reaches this global optimum point, when it reaches toward the global optimum point, you are reducing the learning rate. Definitely, the step length will be reduced. It will be stopped here. It will not overlook. That's what we did here in the previous case. It is not overlook. It will be stopped here only because the step length will be very small. Okay, that's called as the learning rate scheduling. That is one of the approach, one of the solution, one of the methodology suggested by the researchers. You can also suggest some other methodologies like that. That's called learning rate scheduling. Like you can schedule the learning rate like eta sh equal to eta divided by eta. So take eta initial value equal to 0.9. Take initial value of eta equal to 0.9. So then what happened? Let's take eta equal to 0.9. Now I want to calculate the eta scheduling sh and iteration with respect to the iteration, and sh equal to eta divided by eta. One of the, just I'm suggesting the one of the methodology how we can schedule your learning rate, how we can reduce your learning rate as iteration progress. So that is one of the methodology. So when the iter equal to 1, what is the scheduled learning rate? That's equal to 0.9 divided by 1. That is equal to 0.9. Initially, my learning rate is high. When iter equal to 2, what is this one? Eta equal to 0.9 divided by 2. So that is the 0.45. See, so learning rate is reducing as iterations are progress. When eta equal to 3, then it is the iteration equal to 3. Then learning rate equal to 3. Scheduled learning rate equal to 3. When equal to 4, what about A1? 0.9 divided by 4. 0.225. 225. When it is a 5, what is the scheduled learning rate? That's equal to 0.9 divided by 5. That's equal to 0.18. Like see, your learning rate is slowly decreasing. So initially your learning rate is larger values, so that your step length will be large. As the iterations are progress, so your learning rate is reduces, so your step length also reduces. Then the problem of over the global optimum point or the problem of skipping the global optimum point can be avoided. Can be avoided. At the same time, your number of epochs required also not much, as we considered in case of the lower learning rate like 0.1, 0.001 like that. So hope you understand the impact of the learning rate on finding the solution for a non-linear optimization problem using the gradient descent algorithm. So that's what the learning rate scheduling. So here we are scheduling the learning rate with respect to the iterations. Okay, so this is one of the solutions suggested by the researchers to avoid the problem of high learning rate problems and low learning rate problems. Hope you understand, right, what I want to convey with you with respect to the impact of the learning rate on the solution, finding the solution within a set space for a non-linear optimization problem using the gradient descent. So I hope it's almost 43 minutes. Hope you understand both Python code as well as the impact of the learning rate. So learning rate is one of the important hyperparameters that we need to tune during the training process of your machine learning models. So you have to remember the statement what I have given right now. Well, so now we are going to discuss about the multivariable non-linear optimization problem with gradient descent algorithm. So how we solve multivariable non-linear optimization problem using gradient descent algorithm. So we are going to discuss. Done. So for that, so I want to take a small example, numerical example. So I want to explain how we can use the gradient descent algorithm for the multivariable non-linear optimization problem. So my problem is minimize x square plus y square plus 10. So I want to minimize function. F of x comma y that's equal to x square plus y square plus 10. So this is the, I hope you agree. This is the optimization problem. Why is the optimization problem? Because I am trying to minimize the factor of objective function. So it is the optimization problem. And it is a non-linear optimization problem. Why is the non-linear optimization problem? Because my objective function f of x comma y is a non-linear function of my control variables x and y. It is x square plus y square, not x plus y. If it is x plus y, it is definitely a linear optimization problem. But it is x square plus y square. It is a non-linear optimization problem. I think you also agree. And it is a two variable. Here we have the two control variables. One control variable is the variable,
sir.
one is the x. Hello.
Sir, someone is removing, sir. Removing us.
Yeah, sir. It's 3 times for me, sir.
I joined 2 times, sir.
I joined 2 times.
Don't know, sir. Removing us. We are rejoining. Again, also removing.
Students, I am requesting you all, please concentrate on the class. Don't play with the removing the other students like that. So I will check with some administrative people about these permissions, because definitely it's not a right thing to give a permission to the student to remove some other student. So I will check with the administrative people of who are dealing with these team issues. So mostly these issues will not be happening in future. But try to concentrate on the class, students. So just try to concentrate on the class. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So can you please confirm, is the screen is visible now? Whiteboard screen is visible or not?
No, sir.
No. Okay, I will. Now.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah, fine. So in the next, I have 10 more minutes. I think I want to take the class up to 1 p.m. If you don't have any lab afternoon, then I can continue. Otherwise, I will stop at 1 p.m. So now I'm going to discuss about the multivariable nonlinear optimization problem. So I want to explain how gradient descent algorithm will be used to find a solution for a multivariable nonlinear optimization problem by taking a small example, that is minimize f of x comma y equal to x square plus y square plus 10. So it is an optimization problem. Why it is the optimization problem? Because I am trying to minimize the vector objective function. So it's the optimization problem, no problem at all. And it is a nonlinear optimization problem. Why it is a nonlinear optimization problem? Because my objective function is a nonlinear function of my control variables x and y. Nonlinear function of my control variables x and y. So it is a nonlinear optimization problem. Why it is a multivariable? Because I have the control variables more than one. If it is only one control variable, it is a single variable nonlinear optimization problem. But if it is more than one, it is 2, 3, 4, whatever it may be. In our machine learning case, if you take a simple linear regression model, you have the 2 variables. If you increase the other models, like if you take the multivariable, the number of control variables also increases. If you take a ANN, the number of control variables are very large. If you go to CNN, it is more. If you go into the deep learning, the number of control variables, generally we call it as a model parameters, are very high. But at the starting of this course, I'm going to explain with respect to the 2 variable as a multivariable case. But multivariable means it is more than one. It may be a 2, 300, 200, whatever it may be. So it's a 2 variable. That's why it does a multivariable nonlinear optimization process. It is very easy, students. So if you can apply the same approach what we used for the single variable, but very slight changes. But I can guarantee that the algorithm, the step-by-step procedure of this algorithm, you only can give the response. See. So please respond, students, interactively. Then it will be very happy for me. You can give the answer definitely. I'm sure. What will be the first step? It is a gradient descent algorithm only, but with respect to the multivariable. So what will be the first step? Anyone can tell? Think and tell whether it's right, wrong, no issue at all. For a multivariable nonlinear optimization problem, if you want with the gradient descent algorithm, what may be the first step? Think just with your
Initializing the parameters for both x and y variables.
Perfect. So first step is initialize control variables. Initialize control variables x and y, whatever it may be. Here we have the 2 control variables x and y. So initialize the control variables x and y randomly. Perfect. And also initialize learning rate. Initialize learning rate eta. And also initialize maximum number of epochs or iterations. Both are same, number of epochs or iterations. I can call it as a max and plus. I want to call it as a iter underscore max. Perfect. And also you have to set iter equal to 0. That means we are starting the first iteration. We are starting the first iteration. Now tell me, students, what is the step 2? So you only can give the complete all steps for this gradient descent algorithm for the multivariable optimization problem. If you understand the single variable easy, you can only give all the steps easily. Please tell students what may be the second step. Think just common sense only. What may be the second step? Okay, what is the second step in the single variable? What is the second step in the single variable?
First order derivative, sir.
Perfect. So that means calculation of this slope, first order differentiation. Here also you can calculate the first order differentiation with respect to x and with respect to y. You have to calculate the first order differentiation with respect to x and with respect to y. So that's called, I want to represent as m1, that's equal to dou f by dou x at x equal to your current value, whatever it is, at x. At the end, calculate M2 equal to dou F by dou Y at the current Y value. Hope you understand, right? So you have to calculate the first order differentiation with respect to the each variable. If it is a 10 variable, you have to calculate the first order differentiation with respect to the each variable. Variable 1, variable 2, variable 3 up to variable 10, you have to calculate. How many differentiation you have to do? 2 differentiation in case of the 2 variable nonlinear optimization. So can you please respond? Suppose in my optimization problem, I have 100 control variables. In my optimization problem, I have 100 control variables. Then how many first order differentiations I have to calculate? How many first order differentiations I have to calculate?
100, sir.
100. Because with respect to each variable, we have to calculate the first order differentiation. Perfect. So we are calculating the slope or first order differentiation in the step 2. In step 3, what you have to do? In step 3, what we have to do? Same common, just try to correlate your single variable with multivariable. Now tell me your step 3. So I can give all the steps, but I want to make you think and respond. So what will be step 3, students?
Calculating the step length, sir.
Perfect. So you have to calculate the step length with respect to each variable. That means you have to calculate the delta x, calculate delta x, and calculate delta y. So what is the delta x? Delta x equal to minus eta into first order differentiation, that is the dou f by dou x at x. That's called m1. That's called minus eta into m1. Similarly, delta y equal to minus eta into dou f by dou y at current y value. That's equal to minus eta m2. Hope you understand, right? So m2. Okay. So what will be the step 4?
Updating x and y, sir.
Perfect. Update. Now updation. Update control variables. Update all control variables. Update all control variables. All control variables. That means you have to calculate x equal to x plus delta x and y equal to y plus delta y. Okay. Done. So after that, step 4. Step 5. First, step 5. You are updating your model parameters. You are updating your control variable. Step 5 will be
Calculating the required number of iterations, sir.
yeah. That means we are updating the iteration. Currently we are in first iteration. And we have the maximum number of iterations equal to iter max. Now what we have to do? We have to update our iteration. So update iteration. But while that update iteration, that means iter equal to iter plus 1. That means we are updating the iteration. Now we are at the second iteration. So we are updating the iteration. So once you are updating the iteration count, what you have to do? Step 6.
Printing x and y values, sir.
No. That is, you are directly correlated with your Python coding. It is a pseudocode, called as pseudocode. So what after updating your iteration, what you have to do?
Check the condition.
Perfect. That is called convergence criteria. So here my convergence criteria is whether I am reaching the maximum number of epochs what I defined initially or not. Okay, that means you have to check that one. So if iter is less than or equal to iter max or not. If it is a true or it is a false, what you have to do, what it will be. If it is a true, where you have to go. If it is a true means that means your number of iterations is less than your current iteration number is less than the number of iterations what you define. If it is a true, then we have to go to which step? You can see from the step 2 I am showing. Step 1 is the initialization only. From the step 2 you are able to see. So which step I have to go? If your current iteration is less than the maximum number of iterations that we defined at the time of initialization, then which step we have to go?
Step 2.
Step 2, perfect. Why you are taking that amount of time? Is that true, right? So you have to go to, if it is true, so you have to go to step 2. You have to go to step 2. Again, with the new x and y values, we are already updating x and y values here. Here we are updating already. So using these new x and y values, again calculate the first order differentiation, dou by dou x and dou by dou y, the new x and y values, and go to step 3, step 4. You have to do all those. Suppose if your iteration is not less than or equal to determine, that means your current iteration is greater than the number of iterations what you fixed at the time of your starting of your iterative algorithm. Then what you have to do? You have to go to already we reached maximum number of epochs. That means your while loop is terminated. Your for loop will be terminated. If that is the case, we have to go to next step. So what's the next step? Step 7. What is the next step, students here? You are reaching the maximum number of epochs. If you are in the while loop, y iter is less than or equal to iter max. That means you are reaching the iter max. Then you are coming out of the while loop. Suppose if you are using the for loop, so you are coming out maximum iter max. Then you are coming out of the for loop. Then if you are coming out of the loop, out of the iterative algorithm, finally what you have to do? That's the last step. That's the next step. So what is the next step? Perfect. You have to calculate your objective function f of x comma y at the updated x and y values at x comma y values and print both variables x and y as well as your objective function. This is so yes, your objective function f of x comma y will be minimum at this x value and this x value y value, and the minimum value of f of x comma y is equal to this something. So that's what we have to print it. So what we are doing from all those things is we are trying to find the control variable values. That may be only x in case of the single variable. It is x and y in case of the two variable, or x1, x2, x3, so on xn. In the multi-variable case, whatever it may be, you are finding that values within the set space. At the same time, we are trying to find that minimum point. So that is the complete procedure to calculate to find the optimal solution for a multi-variable non-linear optimization problem using the gradient descent algorithm. So hope you understand the step-by-step procedure for the multi-variable non-linear optimization problem. In the next class, we are going to discuss about the numerical calculations for the multivariable nonlinear optimization problem, and later we are going to discuss about the Python implementation. Is it fine now? I hope you understand today's concept that what we discussed. The first concept is the implementation of the single variable nonlinear optimization problem in the gradient descent algorithm in Python. And later, what is the impact of the learning rate in a nonlinear optimization problem using the gradient descent algorithm. Later, we discuss multivariable nonlinear optimization problem using the gradient descent algorithm. So don't worry much about step 5. Sir, step 6. Sir, here we are checking the convergence criteria, but while writing the Python code, you are not writing the if statement. That is not required there, because your while statement itself it acts as a condition checking. If y is less than y less than iter max means loop will be running until your iteration value reaches the iter max value. Once it reaches the iter max value, it comes out of the loop. No need to check the condition separately. Whether you can use a while loop or you can use a for loop, whatever it may be. The condition loops itself check the condition within that one. The iterate loops will check the conditions within that one only. In case for loop, you can maybe for C language, for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. So it's the loop statement, right? But you are checking the condition inside. So like that, your for loop and while loop for we are doing in the Python inside only. No need to explicitly write the statement separately. But while writing the pseudocode, you have to understand. For understanding, while writing the pseudocode, you have to tell these things as well. So it will help you to understand how your iterative algorithm will flows. Flow of iterative algorithm can be understand with respect to this. Hope you understand the complete concept. Thank you for your active participation. So if you participate actively, that will be more interesting. So